Hi everybody, I'm Dr. Kohila. Today's class we are going to see about the valves, muscles of heart and fibrous skeleton of heart. So in school itself we must be learning in detail about the valves of the heart, I suppose. Yeah. So what are they? We have hmm, atrioventricular valves and the semilunar valves. Separating the right atrium from the right ventricle, we have the tricuspid valve, isn't it? And separating the left atrium from the left ventricle, we have the bicuspid or the mitral valve. And the two set of semilunar valves include the aortic and pulmonary, where the left ventricle, yeah, the left ventricle and the aorta meet. That junction is guarded by the aortic valve. And between the right ventricle and the pulmonary trunk, we have the pulmonary semilunar valves, isn't it? So here, yeah, in college, you're going to learn a little bit of details about these valves. Yeah. So can you identify what valve is this? The right atrioventricular valve, which is also called the tricuspid valve. Can you make out the three cusp here? The anterior, posterior, and the septal cusp. So, what are the things which it should pop into your mind when you talk about a valve or valvular complex? Okay, the valvular complex has the following. The first one, orifice. The right atrioventricular orifice is the opening that you see there. Second one, yeah, the annulus. The annulus is the collagenous base, the collagenous ring to which the cusp is attached. Okay, so the annulus. And the third one, the cusp, which are also called the leaflet. Yeah, the tricuspid valve has the three cusp. And the fourth one, yes, chordae tendineae. And the fifth one, papillary muscle. So when we talk about the valvular complex, it's not just the cusp alone. It includes the collagenous annulus to which the cusp are attached. Okay. And then the chordae tendineae and the papillary muscles. Yeah, but do remember the orifice also. So what is it about the right atrioventricular orifice? Comparing it with the, yeah, I'll take a different color. Comparing it with left atrioventricular orifice, the right atrioventricular orifice is quite bigger. It measures about 10 to 12 centimeter. Okay. Yeah. Larger than the left atrioventricular orifice. It's a bit more. They both lie on the same plane, but the left one is slightly posterior and superior. So the right atrioventricular orifice will be a bit more anterior, directed downwards, forwards to the left. Annulus, I told you, it's the collagenous framework to which the cusp are attached. Okay, so this part, which is going to hold to the cusp, it'll be called the phyla coronaria. Okay, the part of the annulus to which the cusp are going to get attached will be called the phyla coronaria. Okay, both tricuspid and the bicuspid annulus will have anterior and posterior phyla coronaria. Got it? Okay. And the third point about the cusp or leaflet. So here you know there are three cusps: the anterior cusp, the posterior cusp, and septal cusp. Each cusp, if you see, it will have a attached margin, the part of the cusp which is getting attached to the annulus, a free margin which is facing downward, and each cusp will have two surfaces. Facing the atria will be atrial surface. Facing the ventricle will be the ventricular surface. And of course, the atrial surface will be much smoother. The ventricular surface, which is going to receive the chordae, that will be more rough. Okay. Um, chordae tendineae are of two types, the free chordae, the false chordae and the true chordae. You know, the chordae tendineae attaches the cusp to the papillary muscle. Yeah, the true chordae will attach the cusp, the free margin of cusp to the papillary muscle. The false chordae will extend from the cusp to the ventricular wall. Yeah, to different, but not to the papillary muscle. These type of chordae tendineae are called false chordae. Papillary muscle are two in number, anterior and posterior papillary muscle. They'll be attached to the surface of the ventricle. The base will be attached to the anchor to the ventricle, and the apex one third will receive the chordae tendineae. Okay. So that's about the right atrioventricular valvular or the tricuspid valvular complex. Coming to the bicuspid or the mitral valve complex, same thing. What are the components I told you? Yes, to start with, the orifice is nothing but separating the left atrium from the left ventricle, and then annulus. What is annulus? The collagenous base to which the cusp are going to get attached. So third, you have the cusp or the leaflet. Anterior cusp of the tricuspid valve is largest, okay? And the septal cusp is the smallest. Yeah, talking about the previous thing. Three cusp here, isn't it? The anterior one is the largest and the septal cusp is the smallest in the tricuspid. Here, yeah, there are two cusps, the anterior and posterior. Then you have the chordae tendineae and the papillary muscle. So the left atrioventricular orifice, which separates the left atrium from the left ventricle, is actually smaller than your right atrioventricular orifice. It's about 7 to 9 centimeter. Yes. And the annulus, yeah, as I told you, there'll be two phyla coronaria. Phyla coronaria is nothing but the part of the annulus which is going to receive the cusp. Yeah, there are two, anterior and posterior. So the cusp are also two in number, anterior cusp and posterior cusp. These mitral cusps are smaller in size than the cusp of the tricuspid valve, but they are much more stronger. Okay, chordae tendineae similar to there. Here also you'll have false and true chordae. What are true chordae tendineae? Attaching the free margin of the cusp to the apex of the papillary muscle. False chordae will extend from the cusp to the ventricular wall. Papillary muscle, anterior and posterior papillary muscle. Coming to the semilunar valve, yes, the aortic orifice and the pulmonary orifice are guarded by the semilunar valve. So this is your aortic orifice. You have the aortic annulus to which the semilunar valves or the cusp are attached. Okay. And just above the cusp, if you see, the part of the aorta will be dilated, and that dilated space is called aortic sinus of Valsalva. And another thing characteristic of the semilunar valve is that the free margin of both the aortic and the pulmonary valve, in the center they'll present a thickening which is called nodule. Okay, and the margins will be sort of thinned out, that is called lunulae. Okay, and in the aorta there is one anterior cusp which is going to give rise to the right coronary artery. So it will be called, so this anterior sinus is called the right coronary sinus. And there will be two posterior aortic sinus, of which the left posterior, which is going to give rise to the left coronary artery, will be called left coronary sinus. And the right posterior sinus, which doesn't give rise to any coronary artery, is called non-coronary sinus. So clinical terms, okay, they'll just be referring it as non-coronary sinus, right coronary sinus, left coronary sinus. So what is right coronary sinus? The anterior aortic sinus that gives rise to right coronary artery. Left coronary sinus, the left posterior aortic sinus that gives rise to left coronary artery. And non-coronary sinus, it's nothing but the right posterior aortic sinus, which doesn't give rise to any coronary artery. This just to show you the pulmonary valve, same thing as that of the aortic, semilunar cusp, the orifice, the annulus, the three semilunar cusp. But the difference is that here there'll be two anterior and one posterior. Similarly, here also the space above the valve, the cusp, will be dilated to form the pulmonary sinus. So what is the purpose of these valves? To prevent regurgitation of blood. Yeah. And when these valves they become incompetent, what will happen? The abnormal flow across the valve will lead to abnormal heart sound called murmur. Yeah. And there are many conditions we'll be learning, yes, later. The valve can become stenotic, yeah, it can get prolapsed. Yes, leading to a lot of clinical manifestations. Now, coming to the second topic of the presentation, the musculature of heart. What is the type of muscle that you see here in the heart? Smooth muscle or the cardiac muscle, isn't it? So, there are cardiac muscle of the atrium as well as the ventricle. In both atrium and ventricle, the fibers are arranged as superficial and deep. In the atria, the superficial fibers, they're going to encircle both the atria together. These fibers, they reduce the transverse diameter. So when these cardiac muscle around the atria, both the atria contract, they'll reduce the transverse diameter as well as the anteroposterior diameter. Whereas the deep fibers, they sort of arch along the roof of the atria, okay, separately, and hence they decrease the longitudinal diameter of the atria. Yes. Coming to the ventricle, the superficial fibers, they spiral around. They sort of spiral around the ventricle. Yeah. And they decrease the longitudinal diameter. The deep fibers of the ventricle, they form a sort of loops around the ventricular chambers, the ventricular septum, and they decrease the transverse diameter. Got it? So, cardiac muscle around the atria and around the ventricle, superficial and deep. Superficial fibers, they surround both the chambers. Deep fibers are going to individually encircle the chambers. And in the atria, the superficial fibers, they decrease the transverse diameter as well as they sort of compress it, decreasing the AP diameter. The deep fibers, they arch along the roof. Hence, they tend to reduce the longitudinal diameter. Ventricle, superficial fibers spiral around and decrease the longitudinal diameter. The deep fibers, they loop around each chamber and they decrease the transverse diameter. Okay. Atrial musculature and ventricular musculature. Now coming to the most important part of the lecture, the fibrous skeleton of heart. Yeah, actually it's a very easy topic, guys. It has been asked in your university exam as a 5-mark question, as an essay question. But somehow you get into the attitude of thinking that's a very tough thing that you can't understand. Please be with me so that I can make it as easy as for you. So, what is fibrous skeleton? Here, where do you get to see it? And what is its function? Its formation. What are the components? Okay, what are the components contributing to the fibrous skeleton? Your book may not give so much details about it, so I want you to follow it and take notes if you want. And then one word about the clinical importance. If you could write all this with a nice diagram, definitely it's going to fetch you good marks. Okay. So what is fibrous skeleton? Where do you get to see the fibrous skeleton? What is the purpose of this fibrous skeleton? What are the components contributing to this fibrous skeleton? And clinical importance. So this is the one picture you'll get to see in all the textbooks for this topic. So can you get orientation to this picture? This is anterior. This is anterior. This is posterior. This is right, right, and this is left. Okay, so how we are looking into heart? Yeah, you're looking from a superior view, isn't it? You're looking from a superior view. You have removed the atrium. You have removed the right atrium, left atrium. Yeah, you get to see from the superior aspect. What do you get to see? Fibrous skeleton. What are the fibers you know? You know there's a collagen fiber, elastic fiber, reticular fiber. Of these three, which one is the most strongest? The collagen fiber, isn't it? So the collagenous framework, the collagenous framework that you see around the base of the ventricle. Yeah, at the base of the ventricle. Yeah, all the gray color that you see here. Yes, all the gray color that you see here. This is all the collagenous fibrous framework. Okay, so the fibrous skeleton of heart is nothing but the collagenous tissue that form the framework for the heart, the structural framework for the heart, and it is seen at the base of the, you know, the ventricle has an apex facing downward. So what you see from the superior aspect will be the base of the ventricle. Okay, base of the ventricle surrounding the right atrioventricular orifice, surrounding the left atrioventricular orifice, surrounding the aortic orifice, and the pulmonary orifice. Okay, so it's the four collagenous rings that you see at the base of the ventricle surrounding the tricuspid orifice, bicuspid orifice, aortic orifice, and pulmonary orifice. Got it? Okay. Function. Okay. Function of the fibrous skeleton. What do you think could be the function of fibrous skeleton? So again, orienting to the picture, anterior, posterior, right and left. This is your, over the right, you see the tricuspid valvular complex. This is your mitral valvular complex. The aortic valve. This is pulmonary valve. Okay. So what is the function of this fibrous skeleton? So fibrous, it's made up of collagenous fiber. And skeleton, why do you want to call it as a skeleton? Yeah, in our body, you know, the skeletal framework is going to give attachment to the muscles. Similarly, the fibrous skeleton of heart will give attachment to atrial musculature, ventricular musculature, it will give attachment to all the valves of the heart. The AV valves, the semilunar valves, and also to the aortic and pulmonary trunk. Okay, so it forms a sort of a framework to which the entire musculature and the valves are attached. Okay, yeah, and more importantly, yes, this fibrous skeleton, the collagenous framework, it separates the atrial musculature from the ventricular musculature. Okay, so that there's no continuity between the atrial and ventricular musculature. Interrupts the continuity, yeah, of atrial and ventricular musculature. So got it? So what is fibroskeleton? A collagenous framework. Where is it situated? At the base of the ventricle. What are the components of it? Yeah, the four collagenous rings that you see there. The tricuspid, the mitral valvular complex, the aortic and the pulmonary. Function I have listed. Now going into more details about this. Yes. Okay. So can you tell me which is anterior and posterior? This is anterior and this is posterior. This is right and this is left. So can you identify here? This is your tricuspid valvular complex. You can see the two cusp here, anterior cusp and posterior cusp of your mitral valvular complex. This is your aortic valvular complex. This is your pulmonary valvular complex. So from this picture, you can tell me of the four annulus, okay, of the four annulus, which one do you think is more anterior? Yes, the most anterior of the four will be pulmonary, isn't it? So the pulmonary annulus, if you see, it is the most anterior and slightly to the left of your aortic annulus. What about the aortic annulus you see here? The aortic annulus, it lies in the center. Okay, it lies in sort of the center. It is the strongest of all the annulus. And yeah, comparing to the right and left atrioventricular annulus, the left one is more posterior and superior when compared to the right atrioventricular annulus. Do you get it? We are just looking into the position of these four annulus. Pulmonary more anterior, okay, and the left atrioventricular one is more posterior. Aorta in the center, okay, fine. And now I'm going to introduce you few terms. Yeah, so this is the pulmonary. This is aortic. All the blue color that you see here is collagenous tissue. Now, can you see a bridge of collagenous tissue connecting the pulmonary annulus with the aortic annulus? This is going to be called tendon of infundibulum. Right, guys? I'll repeat it again. All the blue color that you see here is the collagenous tissue. The collagenous tissue that's bridging the pulmonary valvular complex to the aortic annulus. Yeah, that's called the tendon of infundibulum. Similarly, you can see a huge mass of collagenous tissue between the aortic annulus and the right and left atrioventricular annulus. This entire thing is going to be called trigonum fibrosum dextrum. Are you with me? So the collagenous tissue that extends between the aortic annulus and both the atrioventricular annulus is called trigonum fibrosum dextrum. The left margin of this trigonum fibrosum dextrum between the left atrioventricular orifice and the aortic orifice, it's going to be given another name, trigonum fibrosum sinistrum. Okay, clear with these three terms? Tendon of infundibulum, trigonum fibrosum dextrum, trigonum fibrosum sinistrum. Okay with it? Yeah. So tendon of infundibulum is between the pulmonary and aortic annulus. Trigonum fibrosum dextrum, it includes the entire collagenous tissue between the aortic and the atrioventricular annulus. The left margin of it alone is called trigonum fibrosum sinistrum. Now I'm going to introduce you two other terms. I'll erase this. Okay. Wait a minute. I'm just getting the, yeah. Now I'll use another pen to introduce two other terms. Okay. So here, if you see, coming to the aortic annulus, you know there are three sinus, isn't it? Yeah. The right coronary sinus, that's nothing but the anterior aortic sinus. The left coronary sinus, which is going to give rise to the left coronary artery. Yeah, that's the left posterior sinus. And this is the right posterior sinus or the non-coronary sinus. Remember? Okay. Now, at the base of the left coronary sinus, the fibrous thickening that you see here, the collagenous fibrous thickening that you see here, is going to be called the left fibrous trigone. Do you want me to repeat it again? The collagenous thickening that you see in relation to the left posterior aortic sinus is called left fibrous trigone. This left fibrous trigone has one important function. It is going to give attachment to the phyla coronaria, the anterior phyla coronaria of the mitral valve. Remember what is phyla coronaria? I told you there is an annulus. The part of the annulus which is going to receive the cusp, that will be called the phyla coronaria. Both tricuspid and mitral cuspid valve will have anterior and posterior phyla coronaria. The left fibrous trigone is going to give attachment to the anterior phyla coronaria of the mitral valve. Now I'll use another color, red. Okay, oh, you want green color. Okay. This is the non-coronary sinus, isn't it? So this collagenous framework, all that you see here in relation to the right posterior aortic sinus or the non-coronary sinus is going to be given a name, right fibrous trigone. This right fibrous trigone carries more importance than the left fibrous trigone because it is going to give attachment to anterior phyla coronaria of the tricuspid valve, posterior phyla coronaria of the tricuspid valve, and posterior phyla coronaria of the mitral valve. You want me to repeat it again? So it gives attachment to the entire tricuspid annulus, which carries the anterior and posterior phyla coronaria, which gives attachment to the cusp of the tricuspid valve. In addition to that, it also gives attachment to the posterior phyla coronaria of the mitral valve. And there's one more thing coming. You must be familiar with this term, tendon of Todaro, isn't it? The tendon of Todaro, it extends from the right fibrous trigone to the valve of IVC. Because of all this clinical importance, this right fibrous trigone is also called the central fibrous body. So what is the clinical importance of the fibrous skeleton of heart? So whenever any suture you make on the heart, yeah, it's not on the musculature or on the conducting system, but it's over the collagenous tissue, okay? So that it's held tight. Yes. So we'll just quickly go through it. Fibrous skeleton of heart is a very important and easy topic if you can understand it. So fibrous, it's made up of collagenous tissue framework. And that's the most dense, about like dense and most strong tensile one. and you can see it at the base of the ventricle surrounding the AV orifice and the pulmonary and aortic orifice, made up of 4 collagenous rings. As I told you, it's going to give attachment to the atrial musculature, ventricular musculature, to the valves of the heart, to the aortic trunk, to the pulmonary trunk. At the same time, it interrupts the continuity of the atrial musculature and ventricular musculature so that they do not function as a single unit. And position of the annulus, the anterior most is the pulmonary, aortic is central, and the left atrioventricular orifice is more postero-superior to the right atrioventricular orifice. And then, yeah, I told you about the collagenous tissue connecting the, yeah, pulmonary and aortic. What is it called? Yes, tendon of infundibulum. Yeah. And what is trigonum fibrosum dextrum? The entire thing that you see between the aortic and AV valve, the collagenous tissue. And the left margin of it alone is called trigonum fibrosum sinistrum. What is left fibrous trigone and right fibrous trigone? The collagenous tissue related to the left posterior aortic sinus that gives attachment to the anterior fila coronary of the mitral valve. Right fibrous trigone will give attachment to, yes, in relation to the non-coronary aortic sinus or the right posterior aortic sinus, to the anterior fila coronaria, posterior fila coronaria of the tricuspid annulus. In addition, posterior fila coronaria of the mitral annulus plus the tendon of Todaro. Okay. Hence, the right fibrous trigone is aptly called the central fibrous body. Yes, you can read the same topic in your textbook, and still if you have a doubt you can yeah, let me know your doubts. um yes, this is my number, you can take down any doubt relation to the topic, you want to clarify it further, anything, kindly let me know. So we'll wind up the lecture. Thank you.